The hard work it takes to heal is not even something that can be overemphasized, but it's so worth it. If you check some family dynamics, you realize that a lot of patterns repeat itself. Like there are studies that have proven it, that you carry your parents' trauma, you carry their experiences. And I figured for myself that there are some things I'm dealing with, I'm struggling with. It didn't start with me. Like I know it didn't start with me because there are some things you've adopted. There are habits, behavioral patterns you've adopted that needs to be changed. Really, it's easier to repeat the pattern than to change the paradigm or break the pattern. It's easier to repeat the pattern of divorce, the pattern of fears, anxious attachment. If we don't destroy the copy, we transfer it. We transfer it to our kids, to our generations. It could be like the copy of the transgenerational trauma, the trauma that the people faced. We have to destroy it to avoid transferring it. And someone can ask, I keep ending up in similar relationships. Why? Patterns. I keep attracting this kind of people. Why? Patterns. And the thing you need to know about patterns is that some can be created and some can be inherited. So it's not all patterns that are inherited, because someone can say, in my family, we don't have this kind of thing. But why do I have it? You created it, or somehow it's still inherited, but it was in the bloodline. But then I just want to tell you that it can be broken. The trauma you don't deal with, you transfer. The healing you receive, you transfer to. What do you want to transfer to your generations? What kind of emotional inheritance do you want to transfer to them? Trauma or healing, brokenness and dysfunction, or health? Hello, my friend. Welcome to Godly Conversations podcast. I am your host, Wem, and I am so excited to have you watch today's conversation. Thank you for sitting here with me in today's conversation, and let's have it together. Today, I'm talking around patterns. Patterns. First of all, how are you feeling? Are you feeling right now? How is life with you? I hope God is good, and you know that. And it's not just a cliche of like God is good all the time. So in today's conversation, I was thinking a lot around patterns, and it's something I've always thought about in my life, something I've had on my mind for the longest time that I can remember, because every family has its pattern. To every person, there is a pattern they have. But for today, for the purpose of this conversation, I was thinking around the people that I've known and seen who says, I want to break the patterns in my family. And most of the time, for the ones who I've known that wants to break the patterns in their family, instead of breaking, they end up repeating the patterns in their family. It's either they repeat the pattern or the pattern ends up breaking them, because they refuse to want to break it. So the pattern ends up breaking them and turning their life to something else. And that creates another pattern, which somehow generationally can still continue, which is someone might have said, oh, my generation were, divorcees. So I don't want to divorce. So because they have made up their mind, I want to break this pattern. And the only way they know how to approach it is emotional, strong-willedness, and like, I will break this pattern, but no work to do that's going to secure them or break the pattern. Definitely from their mind, mentally, psychologically, and all. And then they end up getting into a marriage and repeating the pattern. How does it repeat? Now they've gotten into a situation whereby both of them cannot stay together. It's not just working. Things doesn't work. And some people can get into a place like that. And this is not an indictment on anybody. Some people can get into a place like that, which actually they are being abused, and they decide to stay. Why do they even want to stay there? Because they feel like, I want to break the pattern in my family. All the women in my family were abused, so I will not leave this marriage. The devil is fighting the marriage. Yes, the devil is fighting the marriage. And yes, also there's a pattern on ground that is repeating itself, because that pattern is in you and even in your body, and you are done nothing to actually take it off. You did not actually transform your mind. You actually got conformed, and the pattern repeated itself. So this is what I'm talking around. And there are so many people, both, it's not just for female, it's not a gender-based conversation. It's both ways and all of that. There is financial patterns. There's patterns of poverty, patterns of like whatsoever thing you want to name it. You can name it. And every family has theirs. And unhealthy marriages, dysfunctional homes, and all of that. There is a lot of pattern we want to talk about. And when I started with my friend in the conversation around trauma, we literally talked about stuff that she mentioned: transgenerational trauma that are being transferred from a generation to another. Trauma can be transformed, but on a study that I discovered that someone did, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a researcher in that psychological, in the mental health space, but I've heard studies because I like listening to stuff like that. The study says that the same way trauma can be transferred, healing can also be transferred. That made me think about something. And I'm like, when the scripture says that a great man lays an inheritance for his grandchildren, and I discovered that inheritance is not just about finances and resources. It's about everything. You leave inheritance for your children, definitely they are going to leave one. Some have not left resources and all of that, which I would have preferred. Some have left trauma. And in light of that, I was like, even if you don't want to leave anything for your grandchildren, leave healing. Transfer healing through your bloodline. Do the hard work. And this is where I'm going to start this with. A lot of people talk too much around breaking generational patterns, but they have not yet been told the hard work that it takes to break these patterns. Because we feel like it's just an emotional thing. I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to be like this person. I don't want to be like that person. I will not repeat the same pattern my mom repeated. And you end up seeing yourself there. And it's almost like a shock. Oh, my mom was here. My dad was here. Our family was here. It can happen in health. This happened to my great-grandfather. It happened to my grandfather. It happened to my father. Then, now the science, they've just given me the diagnosis. There are patterns. There are models. There are blueprints. There are way of life. There are way of thinking. There is so much involved. There are decisions involved that led to that pattern repeating itself. And it's almost like it's interwoven in your DNA. And that is what I want to talk about in today's episode. And I believe this is going to help you and going to help someone that if you really want to break the pattern, do it not just for you, do it for your generation. Do it to actually help the next generation that is coming ahead of you. Think about them. I want to be a good man or a good woman. I want to break these patterns that once it's broken, the generations ahead of me will end up enjoying the fruit of my hard work. Not just your physical hard work, but your hard work intellectually, your hard work mentally, your hard work psychologically, your healing, that you've healed the traumas in you. Because if you check some family dynamics, you realize that a lot of patterns repeat itself. The mother somehow was molested or abused, and without knowing, the child gets to experience that. Of course, the mother would never want the child to know that and did not even share anything, but then has been overly protective, and the child may not even know that the way my mom is behaving is actually out of the trauma they experienced. But one thing or another happens that the child finds his or herself in a place that they are being molested. And it's like it happened in the family and now it's happening to the child. Somebody has to break that pattern. It could be in finances. It could be in health. And maybe that person is you. That's why you are on this conversation today. Are you ready? Let's get into it. It is easier. It's actually a hard saying, but it is easier to repeat the pattern than to change the paradigm. It is easier to repeat the pattern than to break it. The easiest thing to do, and I did an episode in the 44th episode of this podcast. I talked about drifting. It's so easy for you to drift into the pattern of your fathers. It is so easy for you to drift into the pattern you came to see. But you know what is difficult? Breaking that. That takes a lot of intentionality. That takes a lot of hard work. The hard work it takes to heal is not even something that can be overemphasized. But it's so worth it. The money you spend on therapy is so worth it. The hard work to study and learn and grow your faith is so worth it. The time you spend consuming therapeutic materials that is going to transform your mind and help you rewire your brain is so worth it. Because somehow, like in places like Africa here, Nigeria, we may not really have the finances to go sit in therapy or enough finances. Of course, there are some organizations that are helping who are giving out free therapy sessions, But then for the general, you may not have the finances to really do it, but then you have the time, you have the intentionality to sit and do the work and listen to materials that are actually helping you in the area that you are trying to break out. And then be committed to do each work that you are given to do to actually break the pattern, change the paradigm, and move forward. Now, I'm passionate about this because I think about my family. And I think this idea came about, I've been thinking about this for many years of my life because I've seen so many things in my family, the chaos, the confusion, the lack of harmony in the marriage. And I'm like, I don't want this, because I had to investigate. Like, I've seen my grandfather, I've seen the pattern of marriage and life and all of that. And I'm like, this is not what I want. Yes, there might be many aspects to it because it's so nuanced. Someone can say, oh, spiritual, let's go and break the spiritual this thing. And you've been praying for years. You've been doing this deliverance for years. Why has nothing changed in your life? Probably there's something you did not know that you need to know. And that might be that there's this pattern is not just spiritual. There's a psychological part to it. There's a mental health part to it. There are some things you've adopted. There are habits, behaviors, behavioral patterns you've adopted that needs to be changed. Really. There are these things that needs to be changed for you to really experience the transformation you're seeking. Because transformation doesn't just come easy. It comes through hard work. Every transformation. Romans chapter 12 verse 2. Every time I read that, I'm getting an epiphany on a different level. That's the anchor scripture that led me to this. He said, do not be conformed to this world. And I think there is a passage or translation that says, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Let me read it from the scriptures. I'm actually using NLT. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, it's quite easy to conform, because conformity is almost like just drifting into it. You don't do much about conformity. It just happens because it's almost natural. Did I miss Romans? Okay. Romans 12:2. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. I like this translation too. It said, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world. Don't copy. Don't copy. Don't copy. Don't copy. And when I think about don't copy, and I'm like, but some of it has been copied without you knowing. Like, there are studies that have proven it, that you carry your parents' trauma, you carry their experiences. And I figured for myself that there are some things I'm dealing with, I'm struggling with. It didn't start with me. Like, I know it didn't start with me, because I'm trying to discover where did this start from. And I'm like, this didn't start from me. And then when I checked my parents, I'm seeing traits of that in them. I'm like, oh, that's where I got that. So I got that from their DNA. Doesn't make sense. So for the definition of pattern, it says here, pattern is simply a repeated way of thinking, reacting, or living, whether picked up consciously or unconsciously. Of course, if you check scripture, you see patterns. Like, God gave Moses a pattern for the tabernacle, and that pattern was to be repeated. And in the course of the pattern that God gave Moses, it formed an intentional blueprint for the tabernacle. And there are patterns in scriptures in families that if you see, like, which I'm going to just point out a few. So these are repeated way of thinking, reacting, and living. Repeated way of thinking. So there's a thought process, a blueprint of way of thinking that families have actually had. And it's almost like it's repeated, it's replicating. Maybe around people that divorce, they didn't just divorce because they wanted to divorce. There must have been something. Maybe, like you talk about, I started with the analogy of someone, maybe they didn't want to be divorced because they feel like my mom actually experienced this, and they're like, I want to stay in my marriage and remain. And they have ended up having a way of thinking that makes them attract the wrong person. And because they attracted the wrong person, they are now in a situation that they repeat the pattern. So it's almost like they copied it without intentionally copying it, which is why I said that it's easier to repeat the pattern than to change the paradigm or break the pattern. It's easier to repeat the pattern of divorce, the pattern of fears, anxious attachment, the pattern of thoughts. Like, when I had these thoughts disturb me, these anxious thoughts, there was a point in my life that I had these intrusive negative thoughts just bombard me. And when I had to check, I'm like, this didn't start with me. And of course, I think the psychologist that I had put it in the word "and," and he said there's an automatic negative thought. And I realized that I had these thoughts which was just automatic. It's almost like it was copied into my system. And then I kept living out these thoughts because I didn't even know. But then I found myself having these intrusive thoughts, and it's negative, and it's affecting me. It's affecting the way I'm thinking, giving me fears and anxieties and all of this. And then I had to check, like, this didn't start with me. I inherited this somewhere. This must have started somewhere. And then I figured that somehow my parents actually have a trait of this. Then I realized, wow, this didn't start from me. And someone can ask, I keep ending up in similar relationships. Why? Patterns. I keep attracting this kind of people. Why? Patterns. And the thing you need to know about patterns is that some can be created and some can be inherited. So it's not all patterns that are inherited, because someone can say, in my family, we don't have this kind of thing. But why do I have it? You created it, curated it, or somehow it's still inherited, but it was in the bloodline. Whichever way. But then I just want to tell you that it can be broken. You can actually break the pattern. Yes, there's a spiritual aspect to it, which is praying to God. If there's a demonic activity in your life, when you pray, God actually sets you free. And, because it's not a but and after praying, there is work for you to do. I've prayed over my life around breaking the patterns in my family, financially, health-wise, maritally, and all-wise. And I realized that it doesn't stop at praying. There's a hard work to do to change the frame of my thinking, to rewire my brain. Because if I can track the pattern, I need to rewire my thinking. I need to rewire my brain. I don't have to be conformed to the way my family does things. Oh, everybody in my family have anger issues. Like, we have this kind of anger, this kind of rage that when we want to do things, we are stubborn people. We just get to do it. I used to pride myself in being a stubborn person, but I realized that that doesn't help anybody. Yes, I've seen some traits of that, fears, anger in my family. And I realized that I don't want a part of this. And there's a part I see, which just me being vulnerable, right? I realized that in my family, there are some things that's almost like normal. Like, I'm not trying to say this to be judgmental or in any way, but just my reality. And I want you to hear this without having anything in your mind that seems like I'm judging or anything like that. So I grew up and we drink alcohol in my family. It's not a taboo. It's not a taboo. So I drank when I was early on as a child, as growing up. I used to drink alcohol too. And then I realized that I don't actually need this. Not based on anything. At some point, yeah, there were times I drank. I have a particular situation which I'm not going to like state, like the situation what happened. But I drank, and then it actually, like, I was under the influence of the alcohol as a young boy, me and my sister, and then we wounded ourselves as a result. That experience actually stuck to my mind. And I realized that, yes, not as if my brain can't take alcohol. It does take, because I used to take. But I realized I don't really need this. Why? I've checked myself. On a normal, I don't need alcohol to actually be a bold person. I am naturally bold. I'm naturally confrontational. Like, I can just do anything I want to do. So then I told myself, what if I now walk under another influence? What does that do to me? What kind of person comes out of me? It's almost like Superman with kryptonite. Each kryptonite, green kryptonite weakens him. The silver kryptonite actually changes his form. Like every kryptonite actually affects him wrongly. So I'm like, what are kryptonites in my life that may be affecting me to repeat a pattern that I'm trying to break? This is what I mean. That's why I said, don't take it as if I'm coming against someone that is drinking alcohol to judge. It's not a judgment, because my family members still do drink, and it's not a judgment that, oh, why should they be drinking alcohol, like a sin? If there's a religious person watching, I'm not, this may not be for you, because you might be like, tell them that it's a sin. This may not be for you. We are on something else. So let me not digress. So I spotted that, and I realized that I've seen that trait in my family. Drinking is a thing in the family. I told myself, this is not just about saying I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to be like these people that I've seen. I don't want to be like my family members. I want to break a pattern. It's about me making steps, intentional decisions. It was not as easy, but then I had to just stop. And when they drink, I decided to drink soft drink and beverage. So then I realized there's another thing. There's a sense of immorality and womanizing. Yeah, if my family member watches this, I wish you would tell me that I'm lying. But in my view, I realized that there's something like that in the family. There's a lost problem that men in the family are struggling with. I don't know about the women, but just speaking for what I know, I realized that there's a lost problem, because I actually fell a victim to lust and masturbation. I fell a victim to, the idealism of womanizing. Then I realized that, you want to break a pattern. And I hate some things growing up, which actually molded my decisions, my way of thinking around this. And then I heard someone say, you can't do something the same way and expect a different result. One of the elders that I loved in my church then, when I was growing up, actually used to talk to me, and then he used that to speak. He used different analogies around that to tell me that if you want to get a different result, you have to do something differently. So now, to get a different result in my life, I have to think about that and says, what can I do differently to get a different result in this area of my life when it comes to repeating patterns? So because it's easier for me to drift into this pattern and be conformed, what can I do to be transformed? I have prayed. We have been praying, God, break this pattern, break this, break that, break. Yes, God has broken, but then there is a copy. There's a copy. There's a copy in me. There's a copy in each of us. There's a copy of our family in each of us. There's a copy that we need to actually, destroy. If we don't destroy the copy, we transfer it per time. We transfer it to our kids, to our generations. It could be like the copy of the transgenerational trauma, the trauma that the people faced. We have to destroy it to avoid transferring it. And I know I might sit here. I'm not saying all of this to blow my trumpet and be like, I'm saying this to help. And I hope that this helps you. This makes you want to consider yourself and your own family. What are the things in your family? So there are unhealed emotional defaults that makes you choose familiar dysfunctions. And let me just say these 3 things that I jotted down here. I inherited behaviors I did not choose. I feel stuck in loops I can't explain. I don't see the pattern until damage is done. I hate what I repeat, but I don't know how to stop it. If that looks like you need to listen to this episode intentionally and attentively and ask yourself, these patterns that I want to break, I need to know them, because this is the point I want to point out. You cannot break a pattern that you do not know or understand. And sometimes people feel like the pattern is that of divorce. Somehow it's not. It might just be a pattern of picking the wrong people. Because picking the wrong person, the easiest way, a book I read said that the easiest way to stop divorce is before you even get to marry. You don't stop divorce when you are married. Because if peradventure you have picked the wrong person, you are only going to want to endure to not leave that place, even though it's dysfunctional and unhealthy for you, so that you will keep, in quote, your marriage. But if it's not working for you, the end result might actually be, it's either you divorce in life, God forbid that you divorce in death. They do you part. God forbid that. But then, the easiest way to stop it is to stop the patterns around your picking. Why do you keep attracting the wrong people? The easiest way to track it is before you get there. So check your picker. Why are you picking who you pick? What do you use as a framework to choose? Oh, you're allowing Hollywood to define for you, oh, this is my spec. My spec is this and that. Tall, dark, and handsome, slim, fit, and beautiful, fair. Whatever that picker is, if you have been informed wrongly, you realize that at the end of the day, these are aesthetics. And I'm not saying that attraction and beauty shouldn't be regarded, but that should be almost like a surface thing. Somehow, if you want to meet someone that you like, you like the attraction brings someone to you, like the way I say it to myself. Attraction makes you meet someone and you see the person that you are attracted to. But after knowing that you're attracted to them, drop that one place and deal with the real issue. What is their character like? What are their patterns like even? Because you're going to spot, those are the things that we see as red flags. Oh, the way he talks, the way he does this, the way he behaves. Those are still patterns. He might have picked it from his family. He might have picked it somewhere else. But have you even investigated any pattern to even know, oh, this is a red flag? Can you deal with this? Because red flag doesn't mean leave the field immediately in terms of relationship. Red flag might be, let's review this. Is this something we can stay to deal with? Is this something you want to deal with? You like the person taking accountability if they do? Or is this something that, I need to take a leave? They need to leave the field. So now, when I check out the word pattern, it talked about two things that I want to point out to you. An exhibit for imitation or warning. An exhibit for imitation or warning. Of course, we can talk around that even in scriptural perspective of how Paul said, there was a pattern that I live in my life. Follow me as I follow Christ. That's a pattern. He says, I am following Christ. Follow me as I follow Christ. A pattern. Then, that's a pattern for imitation. But there was a pattern for warning, which God told Israelites, like their disobedience. They were disobeying God. And God says, this pattern of disobedience has a direct consequences. And of course, like scripture would tell them, I present you life and death. Choose life that you and your generations might live. But if you choose death, definitely you're going to die. That was why Joshua said, as for me and my house, we have a pattern. We will follow the Lord. Patterns. So which pattern are you imitating? Which pattern do you know you should be warned against? Because this could be wrapped up as the models that is making up your thinking. If you're looking at marriage, what thinking do you have? If you're looking at finances, what thinking do you have? What's the model? What's the blueprint around your mind, around money? When money comes into your hands, how does it make you react? How do you spend it? What financial wisdom have you sought out? Oh, patterns of poverty be broken in the name of Jesus. Blah, 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 blah. You speak in tongues. I'm not trying to mock. I'm just saying you can speak in tongues and do all of that and get back. God blesses you with finances and you don't have the wisdom to invest it. It goes off. And God doesn't want to give us something that is temporary. He wants to give us something that is lasting and generational. Both physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, all facets of your life. God is interested. I wish that you will prosper and be in health even as your soul prospers. Is your soul even prospering, first of all? Or are you struggling with these patterns that you've not decided to do the hard work? So, you can't escape the pattern. You need to break it. So, if you had actually inherited patterns, or you cultivated it, or curated it, or created it somehow, you can actually aim to break it. But the way to break the pattern, just to go ahead, so that I won't sit here just talking, is, first of all, you cannot break a pattern you do not know. You cannot break a pattern you do not know. Now, people often try to escape a pattern they cannot name, they do not understand, and that attempt actually leads to frustration. Which is why I mentioned earlier about the divorce thing, because I see that a lot, or unhealthy marriages. People always say, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that because my parent did that. And I love such people, right? And I'm only saying, are you ready to do the hard work? Because the easier thing to do is only to lean and drift to what your parents did. That's hard to say. But then the harder thing to do is actually to put in the work to change that pattern, that paradigm. Whatever thing you saw in your family, you know it. I know mine. And I'm only bringing this publicly to help someone. Because if you don't break it, you transfer it. The trauma you don't deal with, you transfer. The healing you receive, you transfer too. But it will behoove you. What do you want to transfer to your generations? What do you want to transfer to your great-grandchildren? What kind of emotional inheritance do you want to transfer to them? Trauma or healing? Brokenness and dysfunction or health? What kind of transfer do you want to make into their destinies? That they are struggling with anxious attachment that they don't even know where it comes from, or automatic negative thoughts that they don't even know where it comes from. What kind of things do you want to leave? And you should do this. If you don't want to do it for you, do it for your generation. Do it for your children to come. And I would actually hope you can do it for you. So these are the things. You can actually hate a pattern. You can dislike what it produces. You can dislike who you become because of it. But that emotion won't break it. I wish it was just that easy. That I hate it. I hate it. I hate what happened. I hate this. I hate that. I don't like, I dislike. I hate the fact that it affected me. Oh, you hate it. What if you repeated it? Because your emotion won't break it. The emotional quality of your hatred or whatever thing you have around the pattern in your family, your emotions will not break the pattern, even though you hate the pattern. So hating the pattern does not mean that the pattern cannot be repeated. Hating the pattern is just an emotional thing. But it doesn't mean that you cannot still repeat the same paradigm. It's not about just hating the pattern. It's about changing the pattern. When you change the pattern, you break the paradigm. You break it by changing it, not by hating it. Hating it is a good thing because it leads you somewhere. But it should lead you to where you are doing, you hate it enough that you want to do the work to break it. That you want to do the hard work to be humble, to let down your ego. As a man, your ego, if you've seen men in your family who work with their ego, be like, I'm the man of this house. I'm the man here. Keep quiet, I'm talking. I'll beat you. And you're like, I'm not talking to a kid. Should I be talking to my wife like I'm talking to a kid? Even my children, I shouldn't even talk to them that way. Oh, keep quiet. No, they have the right to talk. Can we have hard conversations? Can I disagree with you? Because I might go personal around this. I used to think, because of the chaos in my family, that if I argue in my relationship, something is going wrong. Then I don't need such relationship. But that was the wrong pattern. I need to be with someone. Of course, I saw a story that said that I could respect that framework. I need to be with someone that I can argue well with. Because if I meet someone whom we don't even disagree or argue, somehow there might be falsehood hidden somewhere here. It might be this person is not really who themselves. Maybe they are pretending, or maybe they are people pleasers. There's a dysfunction hiding somewhere that they don't even have an opinion to say. They don't disagree with everything I say. They agree to everything I say. No, I should be scared about that. I should need someone that we argue together and we argue well together. That our disagreement and argument is leading us to an agreement. It's not leading us to conflict, but it's leading us to a healthy place of us understanding ourselves, having our boundaries stretched out before each other like a canvas that we want to draw something. Okay, now I see your boundary. As an artist, let me pick up my brush and then mix my colors to draw what do I want in this situation. Both husband and wife could sit down, argue well and say, I don't like it when you talk like this to me. I don't like it when you raise your voice. Or probably there was a pattern of raising of voice, so they are triggered by you raising your voice. And maybe you come from a loud place like mine. I came from a loud place that we talk at the top of our voice. We're passionate people. Like you can feel from this conversation, I am passionate. We are passionate people. We don't know how to talk so sometimes you can take it like aggression. So now let me tell you who I am and where I come from. Let's argue well. Let's not assume things. Let's be curious about things and let's argue well. So now I discovered that if I don't want to repeat some patterns, I actually need to know how to have hard conversations. I need to know how to come out as a man and drop my ego. I don't want to make this about myself, but I'm talking to someone, right? You need to know how to drop your ego and crush it even, because your ego is not helping you. You have it, but it's not helping you because it wants to have you. At the end of the day, oh, I'm the man, I'm this, I'm that. You end up beating your wife, or you end up manipulating your wife or controlling your wife. No, you're missing it, bro. You're missing it, sir. You're on the wrong path. Oh, my mom didn't talk like that to my dad. That was your mom and your dad. There was a pattern. You rather break that pattern or you repeat it. That's not to say, oh, let's accept like a wife insulting the husband or a wife talking anyhow to the husband and all of that. That's not what it says. But it says if your dad and your mom didn't talk that way, now you've met your partner and they're talking a way you don't like with you, can you sit down in a conversation and ask them or tell them, I don't like the way you talk, because when you talk that way, it makes me feel this way. But a man with ego will not even have the time to sit down and have that kind of, it seems like that is very slow, that is very weak, that is very womanish, feminine. Like as a man, control your wife. I don't know where I heard that online, whether it was from a pastor that says men needs to learn how to control their wives. And I'm like, wow, I can see what kind of people you are building and the patterns you're building around that congregation. I can really see. No man has to control his wife. If your wife is an adult, even if children don't even want to be controlled because you can't control anybody. They will still do what they want to do. So you married someone, let them be who they are. Marry someone that you can accept them for who they are. And that's not on the negative side of somebody saying, that is just who I am. I get angry. Little things make me angry. Change that. That's a pattern. That's a wrong pattern. Little things make you angry. Change that negative pattern. Oh, sometimes you just get moody. Change that pattern. It's a pattern. Oh, that's why I used to see my dad sometimes. Oh, you even know where it comes from. I wish that this is actually like connecting with someone. You can spot these things. You can spot the behaviors. You can spot these things in your family and you are accepting it as normal. You are normalizing it. You know, my dad used to do it. My mom sometimes. My dad sometimes don't talk. He just keeps quiet. Oh, mine only talks. Like, who is it helping? To be vulnerable. My dad, I love my dad. But then there are a lot of things I didn't like about him. There are a lot of things I wasn't proud of about him as a man. Because I remember once that we used to have a lot of hard conversations. I call it hard conversation because it was ruffled a lot. And I asked him once, this behavior you are portraying, is that what you are showing me as a young man to portray to my wife? I don't know how that sat with him because he didn't respond to me. But I was trying to just get it. Why are you behaving like this? I don't like this about you. So there are many things that would have made me want to say, I hate my dad. And I had to sit back and tell myself, hating him doesn't mean I may not repeat the pattern. I should hate the thing I hated about him and not hate him. Love him enough to understand now that I'm grown that he did the best he could with the available information he had. That gives me peace in my heart to know I know better, I can do better. He couldn't break the pattern because I look at him and I look at my granddad, late granddad, and I realized that there are patterns my dad had repeated from his dad. And there are patterns in my dad I've seen in my brothers. This is actually, if any of you are watching this, I'm not saying this to expose anybody or to expose us. I'm saying this so that we can all do our work. And there are patterns that I started like feeling in my body, and I realized that it's time to work. It's time to become emotionally regulated. It's time to learn how to hold tension. It's time to drop my ego. It is time to crush my ego. I don't want to have any ego. I want to sit with my wife and cry. Oh, men don't cry. Boys don't cry. I'm going to cry. I'm not boys. I am OM. Come on, meet me. When I cry, you say that again and hear me cry more. I'm going to be emotional. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be transparent. Oh, you shouldn't tell your wife everything. Is there wisdom to that or not? I want to be transparent with my wife. Because when I pick her, I want to pick someone with character, whom I can share life with, and they can share their life with me. Anyways, can we move forward? This is an episode that needs to be repeated, and I want to sit with my brothers, any one of them that would come around when we talk. I want to talk around this again. But it's something that I'm really passionate about, because I've seen more people than not who says they want to change a pattern and they end up repeating the same pattern they have been hating all the while. And which is why I'm saying patterns don't break because of the emotion of saying, I don't want to repeat this pattern, I want to break it. Patterns break because you are aware. First of all, after being aware, you have a revelation of that pattern, and then you are educated about what to do, and then you confront it and build new habits. Those are 5 things. Awareness. I know what the pattern is. I have a revelation about it. Yes. I'm educated about it. I confront it, and now new habits that are rooted in truth. I build new habits. These are hard work. These are hard work to do. So now, to help you, I was trying to investigate for myself what makes men even beat their women. Like, it doesn't make sense. First of all, I don't like seeing that. It does not make sense. I think in 2020, I saw so many online things that popped up. I don't know. People were sharing. Then couples were fighting. Like, I was like, till this age, beating each other and all of that. I was triggered on many levels. And then I realized that, why is this keep going? Like, why does this keep going on? And I even heard a young woman then who says that if a man does not beat you, he does not love you. I was like, oh, that one actually kind of broke everything for me. I'm like, I don't get it now. So there is a lot of problem right there that needs to be addressed. And if it's not addressed, and if it's not addressed on time, it's going to bring a lot of things that are wrong, because it's already sending a wrong wave into the society. So then, I've been developing this thought for a very long time. I was like, why do men beat their women? And I tracked some of the things that I've heard. It's always about this control, this manipulation. And now a man gets with a woman whom he cannot manipulate and cannot control. And the woman has an opinion, because women have opinion and they are human beings and they are allowed to have. And the man is like trying to control the narrative, control the situation, control the woman, control everything, control the family, make everybody walk on eggshells. And at that point, he's already trying to push them to be people pleasers, or push the woman to be a people pleaser. And for a woman who is like, says, I have a sprinkle of stubbornness, they will feel like I will tame that stubbornness. I'm like, this is an adult, first of all. I'm trying to make sense of this. This is an adult. Do you go to your friends and when you disagree, you throw punches? That's childlike. That's childishness. But now, Paul says, when I was a child, I behaved like a child. Now that I'm a grown-up adult, I have left childhood things away. I've left childhoodness. So you are still a child at 40, 50. You're still a child at 30 or 20 something, that you meet a woman, you want to beat a woman. My mom actually helped me in a big way, because I think I had an altercation with my younger sister that I wanted to beat her. Yeah, she's my younger sister. I wanted to like train her. I wanted to groom her. And my mom actually warned me once and told me the day she did that, I appreciate that about her. She said, never touch a woman in your life. That it's not your place to beat her. I felt a way. I was like, can't I discipline her? And she told me, no, you will never touch a woman in your life. And if you have any issue, if she insults you or says anything you don't like, we were younger, come and report her to me, I will deal with her. Oof. That didn't sit well with me at that point, but then I had to respect that. And that helped me. From that day, I told myself, I've never had it in me to like beat a woman or anything like that. But I'm like, yeah, I won't even beat my younger sister again, first of all. So even fighting, I don't want to embrace that because, being a rebellious person growing up, I used to engage in some kind of fight and all of that. Because it's almost like you want to fight to prove who wins and all of that. I loved wrestling and stuff like that. But I'm like, this thing doesn't help. So now I'm trying to wonder what mindset is in a man that wants to beat a woman. So you want to control her and she wouldn't have any voice. So you tell her when there's an argument, keep quiet. For an example, and she says, I won't keep quiet. Okay, I won't keep quiet. Do your worst. And then you feel like I will beat you. And she says, beat me now. And now you beat her. And the analogy the thing that came to my mind is somehow you wanted her to keep quiet. Now you've beaten her. Maybe that was the first time. She's surprised that you would lay a hand on her. Maybe she keeps quiet. And now you are using your manipulation to come and tell her, I didn't want to beat you. I'm very sorry. This and that, this and that, this and that. You've registered a pattern. Next time it happens again because you've not dealt with the issue, with the root. You don't know how to have hard conversations. You don't know how to hold tension. You don't know how to disagree well. You thought that we should not disagree. Wrong thinking, wrong mindset. You are cultivating a wrong pattern. Now you go again. You're telling her to keep quiet. Probably she doesn't want to keep quiet. You want to beat me again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And now it feels like when you beat her, you make her submit. She doesn't submit. That's not control. That's not submission. You don't beat anybody into submission. They don't submit. Anyways, I don't know why I'm sitting there. I'm becoming passionate about that. But moving forward, patterns don't get broken because you're emotional about it. Patterns get broken because you are aware and you have a revelation. You get educated about why this. After getting educated, it doesn't stop there. You confront it and then you build new habits. And that is not easy. So just to rush in, what people really think when they hear patterns, this is what people really think. Generational behaviors, actually. And I'm just going to run through these. Fear, anger, divorce, poverty, secrecy, silence, control, emotional distance. You can put infidelity there. Sometimes when people think about that, they think about generational behaviors. So now, when you look at your family, what can you see? What are the fears? Oh, I asked one friend, like, what is your greatest fear? And she said, our greatest fear was marrying wrong. I really love that. And now that I'm talking about this now, I'm like, that fear, when you look into your family and look at the patterns, what are the patterns in you that will make you pick wrong? That will make you accept something that is below you, that will make you choose wrong. Because that is how to stop marrying wrong, is actually to track picking wrong, choosing the wrong person, choosing the wrong partner. So you need to get revelation about love, what you term love, before you mistake love to be just feelings and accepting someone because you have high and kind of like compulsive emotions about them. You are highly attracted to them and then you feel like that is love. That's not love. Love is choosing someone, because that is the part of love that they say, I fell out of love. Nobody falls out of love. They stopped choosing the person they chose. They stopped doing the things. They drifted out of love because they stopped doing the things they used to do to keep the fire burning. But if you think love is that emotional butterfly, whatever, the butterfly is going to grow weak and not have, the wings are going to be weak and it can't fly again at some points until you fan it, until you feed it. You feed it to fly again with your attitude, with your behaviors and stuff. Like if it's secrecy, people think generational behaviors. When you think about patterns, people think emotional dysfunctions. What are emotional dysfunctions? Withdrawal, people pleasing, overthinking. Ooh, I can't think about that. I can stay on that, but I'm not going to stay on that. In my family, oh my God, I've seen that. We overthink. We can exaggerate things and extrapolate things. And I'm like, yes, I've been a part of it. I need to break this. I need to investigate this. And when I listened to Dr. Caroline Leaf, she talked about the fact that instead of overthinking, you should replace your overthinking with deep thinking. Because overthinking is rolling in a circle, going in circles, no solution. But deep thinking is breaking that cycle and finding solution. Solution-based thinking. So anyways, avoiding confrontation. I talked about it, how I grew up thinking I'm a confrontational person, but I confront people outside. But when I got into relationship, I felt like I need to avoid anything anyways, that is part of it. Sabotaging relationships. There are patterns that make people sabotage relationships. Good ones, because maybe their brokenness makes them feel like when they are loved too much, they don't want to be rejected. When they are loved too much, they don't want to be rejected. They don't want to be left. So they're scared. Why are you loving me? I don't want you to love me unconditionally. So if you love me this much, I'm going to run because I don't think I can stay here. That's a dysfunction anyways. Trying to always be strong. Anyways, there are spiritual cycles, spiritual inconsistency, backsliding in the same area, attracting similar unhealthy friendships or relationships. It causes spiritual. So there are personal habits of poor boundaries, overcommitting, self-neglect, and choosing familiarity over freedom. So now to just bring this to my closing, I saw this thing, epigenetics, and it's a study that I discovered as I was scrolling from a page that I follow and I like reading their stuff. And they talked about epigenetics. What is epigenetics? Actually, put out the meaning here. Epigenetics is the study of how your environment, experiences, and behaviors can influence how your genes are expressed without changing the genes themselves. Now, going down, think of your DNA as the hardware. If you know about computer, the hardware of the computer, and epigenetics as the software instructions that tell the hardware how to behave. Now, every hardware in your computer, in your system, laptop, or anything like that, if you know anything about that, it is the software that controls the running of that hardware, how it runs. The software of the CD-ROM controls the hardware. That's why there is a driver for every hardware in the system to make it work. If you want to plug anything into your system, any plugin, you need to find a driver which is like a software to make it work, to instruct it. And now it says epigenetics is like that software in your hardware, which is your DNA and your genes, that based on your environment affect it. This is why I said that your trauma can be passed down. Your patterns can be passed down. Your healing can also be passed down. So I really enjoyed this because it really gave me like a mind-blowing thing of realizing that I've seen this in my family. And this is why I need to know what to pass down to my grandchildren. You don't change the hardware, but you can change the settings. You can correct the settings and change how the thing works. So patterns are not just emotional. They can become biological. So now in this, if you grow up in a home that is marked by fear, instability, anger, chaos, lack of affection, trauma, poverty, and all of that, it affects you. And the stress response system in your body can be reshaped, which is, it's like a software that's reshaping things in your body and even rewiring your brain, because trauma is said by the neuroscientist that it rewires the brain. You just need to look into those studies and all of that. That trauma rewires the brain. So these are part of those things. And then it turns into tendencies of always anticipating danger. Being there, difficulty calming down, overreacting, chronic anxiety, mistrusting relationships, anger cycles, emotional shutdown. So this becomes a pattern. And if not addressed, can be passed down to the next generation. And you know what? The scripture I want to give you is, let not your heart be troubled. Scripture says, when Jesus was talking to the disciples in John chapter 14, verse 27, I don't want you to hear all of this and allow fear to choke you and be like, oh, maybe you realize something. I want you to get Jesus' words. It says, peace I give to you. My peace I bequeath to you. I give you my peace. What is this peace? Shalom, welfare, prosperity, all of that. It's all encompassing. My peace I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled. Nor let it be afraid. In the world, there's trouble. In the world, there are patterns. In the world, there are patterns that are not just emotional. They are biological. They are in your body. They respond. Anxiety spikes in your body that responds. I feel it in my body sometimes. Anxiety spikes that respond. when I was in a relationship and I was struggling with a lot of these things, if my partner just maybe gets angry at me, I would just feel this anxiety spike in my stomach. When a message pops out and then a name pops out, anxiety spike used to pop up. And that was just a relational thing, anxious anxiety, anxious attachment, not anxious anxiety rather, not anxious anxiety. So I had those anxious attachment thing of like, oh, is she going to leave now? What message is she trying to send now? And stuff like that. And I had to realize that these are things to work on. Like the peace of God is what you need. The peace of God will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. Paul said in Philippians chapter 4. So you need the peace of God for your heart. It is as much spiritual as it is, tangible for you to experience in your body. You need the peace of God to actually guard you. Anyways, just to jump ahead, Abraham did something. And then his son ended up doing the same thing. Isaac was not born when Abraham went to Egypt and lied about the wife that this is my sister. Out of a fear that Abraham would not be killed, Abraham denied his wife and said, this is my sister. Isaac did the same thing. What was that? Epigenetics repeating itself. When Isaac went to Abimelech, he said, this is my sister, out of the fear that he doesn't want to be killed. And the man took his wife and would have slept with his wife if not for God's intervention. And that keeps repeating itself even in our lives. We find out that there are patterns that we repeat. And I'm just telling you, it's easier to repeat the pattern than to change the paradigm. And it takes a lot of work for you to actually change the paradigm. I have patterns in my life that I want to break. I have things in my life that I'm saying to myself, it's actually not my fault, but then it is my responsibility. There are patterns in your life that are not your fault, but now they have become your responsibility, and you need to sit up, do the work, get them, work it out, and get educated about these patterns. I hope that this episode is really helpful to you, and we might get to do a part 2 to this. If this is really interesting and helpful to you, let me know in the comment section. Let's know how to go forward with this. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and let me know which part of this episode is speaking to you. And then do not forget to subscribe to this channel and share this particular episode to your friends and other people you know whom this is going to be a blessing to them. I love you. See you in the next episode of Godly Conversations. Bye.
Godly Conversations. We're saturated with so many voices, inundated in the midst of the noises. We need the truth to saturate our hearts. Yeah. In the midst of the noises, we need a buffer, the voice of reasoning. You speak to the culture, shining the light of the kingdom. We're here to curate a message of hope through a conversation. It's not lost on us. The divine God is with us. Yeah, God, Father, Son, and Spirit. The Spirit is my helper. Jesus Christ, my succor. Father is my anchor. Godly conversation brings transformation. You're welcome here.